Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast. This is the Midnight Memo, and we are a podcast where we get to talk about all those fun thoughts that keep us up at night. It's always a fun time. It's always something different.
So much fun.
My name's Claire.
And I'm Kristen.
And we are so excited for you guys to be joining us this week. Before we get started, I would like to point out...
Oh no, I'm so scared.
Yeah, we're recording last minute, mostly due to me. However...
Not entirely, but okay. Keep going.
However, we were responsible and we did have an episode lined up that we were going to release, but I think both of us were like not 100% proud of it, and we always want to put our best foot forward and put out material that we like. Because I was traveling this past week for work and I'm leaving literally tomorrow morning. We only had like a day and a half.
Yeah, like Oogle's early too, right? What time's your flight?
I think 7 a.m. or something. Yeah, because it's like, what, an 8-9 hour flight to Orlando.
Yep.
So we are leaving a bit early, but Kristen's the best because I was like, oh my gosh, we need to re-record like now.
I loved your message to me though. She was like, would you absolutely hate me if I said I wasn't in love with this episode? And I was like, no, because, you know, I was 50-50 when we were recording it. I was like, I hope this turns out good. But I think you and I were not even like funny delusional tired. Like we were just like deadbeat tired.
Yeah.
It was the only day we had available last week to record. So I was like, I had respectfully low expectations for this. But I was hoping that maybe it turned out.
Yeah.
It would turn out better than I thought it would. But I guess that's about what I expected.
Sometimes, yeah, you expect the low energy, delusional funny, but I was just like low energy, period.
Yeah,
like,
just not a vibe. That's fair.
So we are now re-recording. So this past week, Kristen.
Claire.
Did you know that Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are engaged again?
Wait, what? How did I miss this?
Right?
You're lying. What?
Yeah, I was shocked.
That flew under the radar so much to me.
Yeah. They haven't even been back together that long, no?
Define long. I feel like maybe 6 months. I would say under a year, but this is my guesstimation on pop culture, right? What is time in celebrity content, honestly?
Apparently she had made an announcement on one of her fan websites, and like she had a green engagement ring on, and I was like, hold on, weren't you with A-Rod like middle of last year?
I don't know. I'm not good with time. Especially in COVID. I don't know. Time's not a construct. That's crazy. Is green like a new like engagement color? Because wasn't Megan Fox's ring green too?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think it was green. I cannot remember the logic of it. If it was like because that's her birthstone or if it's because she likes emeralds. I think it might be her birthstone because...
Maybe it's because it looks good with red because she's literally not allowed to take it off.
Jesus.
Without like cutting herself or something.
She said Christmas.
Like, we're Christmas fans, really.
Green and red. Yeah. Wait, yeah, try look up birthstone for Megan Fox. Because is she a Gemini?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me just type this in my little thingy thing.
I'm 80% sure MGK is a Taurus, that's why. Don't ask me why I know that. I'm not totally sure why I know that, but like these facts feel correct in my heart.
I mean, honestly, if we track back to our very first episode, we talk about Megan Fox. Maybe we're just fans.
Oh my god.
We're true fans, actually.
Damn, it do be like that. That's so true. I forgot about that. Wow, throwback to the first episode, my guy.
I know. Okay, yeah, it is an emerald.
Because she's a Gemini, right? Is she a Gemini?
No, ours is Pearl. That's our...
Oh, okay, so that's why she had a pearl in it. Because I think it's a
what
pearl...
What if I just completely lied? Gemini birthstone?
Is she Gemini? Well, maybe she's not a Gemini, period.
Hold on.
He might be a Gemini.
It says it's agate.
What the fuck is it?
What is agate? I feel like that changed. I feel like it was either a pearl or a diamond before, and now agate? What?
I mean, both of those sound prettier than my freaking birthstone. It's topaz.
Oh, I like topaz.
But it's such a weird color. Like, if you get jewelry with topaz, you really gotta, like, fully send for the vibe of, like, having these neutral, like, earthy amber tones. And that's not my vibe, unfortunately, for me.
Okay, on the astrology web, it says Gemini, birthstone. There are multiple, I guess.
Oh, what?
Birthstones.
That feels like a fake.
Yeah, May 21st to June 21st. So agate is like the main one. And then we also have pearl, citrine. Oh, I don't know how to say this. chrysoprase, and emerald.
That feels like cheating to have multiple. I don't like that. Wait, what's mine then? Does that mean...
Okay, I'm gonna look up yours.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, does that mean I can readjust? Because I would like to readjust. Because if I have a different gem, then I'm pivoting. Changing my mind, changing my personality. Rebranding, really.
Yes, as two people who take the zodiac signs and astrology signs very seriously, we must know.
At some point in peak COVID, when I was oogles bored, I looked up like my whole astrology chart, my rising, rising and sun and moon signs? Or sun, you're the same. Fuck, I don't remember. I'm gonna sound so fake. I promise I did like a bunch of research at one point. Like for a month, I was so invested in this, and then obviously nothing retained. But I did look up one of them, and I think it was my ascendant was Virgo, and I was like, you know what, that checks, because every time I watch Virgo like things on TikTok, I'm like, you know, that tracks.
Yeah.
Because I never really vibed, but like I never thought Scorpio was very
like aligned with you.
Yeah, exactly, because like, you know, each sign has their own like stereotype, like what they're known for, and I feel like Scorpios are always like, basically we're emo and we'll murder you. And like, if you piss me off, sure, that'll be my personality for sure. But I feel like 98% of the time, I'm not like that. Okay, maybe 88% of the time.
I totally agree. I never felt like I aligned with mine.
Right.
But who's to say? I don't have my information from when I was born, so it could be anything.
Make it up yourself. Why not?
Yeah, I can just claim my own thing, whatever I like the most.
What if you're not a Gemini? What if you're like, whatever's before... Taurus is before you, and then after you, I can't remember.
That's a great question.
But the 13th is so middle of the road, like you're like right in the middle of Gemini season. It's not like, oh, you're on a cusp or something.
Yeah. So I have no idea. And I go back and forth, like I argue with my mom about this all the time, because she's like, no, the information they gave us is accurate. I'm like, honestly, like how can you know that? Like
yeah.
you like, I feel like you're saying this.
Accurate as far as they know, maybe.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you're saying this to make me feel better, but I'm fine with, like, not knowing, you know?
Right. You don't need to lie to me, Mom.
It's fine. I'm already emotionally stable in different ways. We don't have to worry about this area.
Trust me, of all the struggles, this is not the biggest one.
Exactly. Okay, I found your birthstones.
Oh, what do we got?
Okay, so Scorpio is October 23rd to November 22nd.
Yep.
So your main stone is topaz,
Boo.
but then your other...
No disrespect to other people if they like topaz, but not my vibe.
Thumbs down.
Big thumbs down.
Your other ones are citrine, opal, amethyst, and aquamarine.
Wait, amethyst is like hella lit though, right? That's the purpley one.
Fuck yeah. Amethyst is lit though.
Like, isn't amethyst like the really pretty purple one? I would see it on like astrology TikTok all the time for like, and they'd be like, amethyst is so powerful for, and I can't remember right now.
She's an astrology queen. Yeah.
I know all my shit. Obviously, again, I would see these videos, so obviously I fit into whatever side of TikTok that is, but I did not retain any of the information.
Yeah, some amethysts are like really deep purple and they're very pretty.
Okay, I fuck with amethyst. Let's go.
We could go into a deep astrology thing, but...
That's true.
But alas, I feel like it would be very inefficient for the amount of knowledge that I do not have.
Exactly. Find someone who's into astrology and they can come educate us. Because I think it's so cool, but I just passively accept the information. I cannot retain, unfortunately. Because it's so intricate, dude. And the star charts, it's like...
It is. Yeah, some people can get like those whole books made about their...
Yeah.
Like the time they were born and like all of their signs and other personality traits or whatever. Yeah, I only know the very surface level things.
Yeah.
Like Geminis are two-faced. Like,
yeah.
Okay. That's literally all I hear about Geminis.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, cool. We have a really good rep.
Going strong, my guy. You give me more Taurus vibes than Gemini vibes, honestly. Again, from the base surface level that I understand.
So what are... Oh, Libras are opals. Virgos are sapphires.
Why are you looking up Libras?
Oh, it's just on my Google search now.
Oh.
They're like, do you want to know what a Virgo stone is? And I'm like, not really, but you're showing me, so I'm a Virgo. Oh, Virgos have all the best stones. What? I'm jealous.
See, I emotionally identify as a Virgo, and I know one of my big three is a Virgo, so I'm gonna take it.
Their stones are sapphire, which is my favorite stone. It's like those deep blue.
That's right. You love sapphires.
Oh, I love them so much. And then I always love green gemstones too, like the deep ones. So pretty. And Virgos have peridot, jade, and emerald. Like, what the heck? They're just stacked.
Why was I born? Why am I a Scorpio? Mom, injustice.
Life is unfair.
It really is. Oh yeah, so I was right. It was sun, moon, and rising.
Okay.
So your rising sign is Gemini. Mine is Scorpio. And I think my sun was Virgo. I could be making this up. Don't quote me. I think my sun was Virgo and my moon was Sagittarius.
I will hold all of this against you later on.
If you remember this at some random point in time, I would be impressed. But then again, you are editing this episode, so it'll probably now be drained into your head.
And I always remember like really small things that are really unimportant to the main plot line of my life. But like,
This is true.
I'm just like, remember that time?
You do have these random facts, yeah.
I guess now, hard left into our main topic today, which is, I guess, kind of getting used to going back into a working environment because we've been quote unquote isolated, working from home for the last couple of years. As the mandates lift here in the US, we're now able to go back into our offices more, travel for work and things like that. Things are kind of going back to how they were a couple of years ago. But I don't know about you, Kristen, but I feel like a completely different person. And even though it's supposedly the same environment we're going back to, I think everything has changed.
So you mean a different person from when you would go into the office pre-COVID?
Yeah. And I think it's because, COVID changed so many things mentally for me. Like before, I considered myself sometimes to be awkward socially, and that's fine. Like
what?
Wait,
I'm sorry, what? You have never... I know some awkward people, and you definitely do not fall in that realm, my guy.
Well, then maybe it's mostly in my head.
100% has to be in your head.
But we'll say it was mostly in my head. But now I feel like even more socially awkward than I did before. And I think it's a lot of it has to do with, working from home, not seeing the coworkers very often. The socialization overall went down completely. So I mostly was seeing either my family or like my small bubble of people.
Yeah.
And now having to go back into work, and
yeah,
after 2 years of not really having to do that face-to-face conversation, forgetting how to control my facial expressions. Like, when your camera's off, I'm just like doodle-doo, like I'm not really like worried about it.
I'm just bopping over here, don't mind me.
And last week I traveled to the East Coast for work to actually work with my client in person, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so awkward.
Yeah.
Like in between meetings, since we shared this working space because we had so many meetings. So I was like, what do I do? Like in between the meetings.
Yeah.
Should I make conversation? Should I like just stay heads down and work until in 15 minutes we start the next meeting? Like,
oh, and you had only 15 minutes between each meeting? That's such an uncomfortable amount of time. Like, it's too long to just do nothing, like absolutely nothing, but it's also too short to start up a task. That's
yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like trying to find that sweet spot in I guess adding in my 2 cents on the situation, that like awkwardness is so weird. And then we also always go out after the work hours to kind of get dinner with our clients and hang out, and that was fun. However, I kind of forgot how to, now that you're out of, work hours and you're doing things more socially, but it's still professional.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I compose myself? Is it okay if I put on dark jeans?
Can I wear the dark jeans?
Is this not appropriate for the situation? Yeah.
Then there's me. I wear ripped jeans. Okay, so going back to your point of not sure what to do in between these meetings, pre-COVID, have these meetings and there's some time in between. What would you normally do before? Or do you like literally not remember?
Before COVID, I think I had less anxiety about making a good impression, being able to hold a conversation that's outside of the work realm.
Yeah.
However, after the 2 years of isolation and not really talking to as many people, I truly feel like I've lost some skills when it comes to holding conversations with people, and I've gained anxiety. So,
and it's harder. I feel like in COVID, you mostly stay, within your bubble. So the people you were really interacting with outside of your work were usually, peers, like people your age. So now having those whatever conversations, whether they're formal and professional or in these quote, quote, social settings when you would get dinner or have social events with your other coworkers / clients, usually they're a bit older than you. So it's like, okay, how do I interact with adults?
Honestly, I'm like, what do we talk about? Yeah.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Where do our experiences intertwine?
Yeah.
I think COVID had given me a gift of anxiety socially. And
wrapped it up in a nice little bow and everything.
They're like, we have a present for you. And I was like, oh my God, I don't need it.
And they're like, no, we insist.
It's been great. Completely going from working from home to in a week flying out with my whole team to meet my client team. I felt so awkward. And I don't know if it came off that way when I was there. I hope it didn't. But I was definitely like overthinking it in my head. And I was like, I just feel like I can't hold a conversation with these people. There are awkward silences. What do I do? But going into this complete like same work environment that I had before, but it just feels completely different.
Totally. The plus side of that is because this was literally a global phenomenon, you're not alone in it, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm totally sure that your other coworkers are having the same thing. When there's a silence in the middle, they're thinking, unless they just have great coping mechanisms, and I would envy them greatly and would love to hear how they deal with it. I would love to hear their point of view. But I would say that mass majority of the population is going through the same thing of being like, oh, there's a silence here. Do I fill it? Is this a comfortable awkward silence? Because I feel like especially before, because I'm so extroverted, I hated awkward silences. Freaking hated them. If there was a silence, I'm like, okay, going through like my Rolodex in my brain of like, okay, what can I bring up now? What to happen? And maybe that means I had more anxiety before. Not sure. Interpret that how you will. But
are we having a discovery moment?
Did I have anxiety before and now I just don't care about my anxiety? Because I'm still anxious. Like when there's an awkward pause, I'm still like, shit, there's a pause here. Should I fill it? But I think I've also gotten more confident in being like, nah, we can let that sit. But I'm also socially aware. So if I notice other people in my group look a little uncomfortable, then I'll be like, okay, shit. Like I need to fill this in. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. But if it's with people especially with people I'm comfortable with, and there's a silence, I'm just kind of like, we bop. I'll let it hang.
Yeah. At this point, too, a lot of people are going to be going through this, going from work from home to either a hybrid environment, or if they want to go back into the office because they miss that social aspect, they're going back. Like for you, you're starting at a new office next week. So that's like a big change in your work environment. So like, how are you feeling about that?
I think in general, I'm switching jobs. I'm staying at my same company, but I am switching departments and therefore switching teams and even locations. So it's basically going to be kind of like starting a completely new job. And so this past week, my job started a hybrid approach to returning to the office. So they asked that people come into the office at least 3 days out of the week, which is great. Like pre-COVID, I was going crazy being at home by myself. Like I need the socialization to stay sane. So I wanted to go back to the office, and even as the months went by, I was still pushing for it. Now, I'm still very excited to go back to the office. Like I went back to what is now my old job this past week, 2 days out of the week. But that's because, I was on this team for one more week while we were supposed to be returning to the office. And I had this weird in between where I was like, I've just told my team that I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. And technically I'm supposed to go into the office for a week. But they've also confiscated my desk because they said that they needed it for other reasons. So I didn't even technically have my desk. So it's like, do I go in? Do I not go in? Mm-hmm. Go in and meet these people I'm going to be leaving in like 3 days and start a brand new job. And do I go through all the steps of, meeting them for the first time in person, trying to quote, quote, get to know them and like go to these lunches? it just felt so weird and foreign.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to approach it. I still went in like twice just because I missed going into the office. But I think we've been in COVID for so long that I don't have as strong of a desire to go back. Like, I still want to because I need that socialization and it's nice. But I'm actually really happy with the hybrid approach my job is taking. So I can have those days where I'm like, I really don't want to get up and put on pants to go to the office today. Like, my job is pretty casual, but not that casual. So if I'm just having a day where I don't want to go into the office, I can stay at home. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought I would say this, but I think I'm going to take advantage of that. Like, if you asked me even a year ago, maybe even 8 months ago, if I was going to go into the office, I would have told you, I cannot wait. I'm going to go in every single day. Like, cannot wait for this. Now I'm kind of like, 3 days is doable. Like, that sounds like a good even distribution.
It's so crazy now too that the expectations for working at the office have changed so much. I could imagine it'd just be a nightmare trying to get people back into the office.
Yeah.
After 2 years of just being able to be as productive from home.
I definitely still think I am way more productive at the office. Or I would have thought so, except for the first day I went back the other day. Well, because usually when I'm working, I need something playing in the background. So I'll have like loud music bumping in my head, like in my headphones, because I also have my partner. We work from the same office. But sometimes if I just don't feel like having headphones, he's very compassionate. He's like, you can take off your headphones, because sometimes I get a headache from them. So I'll just be bumping music or like, having a little in my own world on this corner of the office. Cannot be doing that in the real office. So there was moments where I was definitely like fading out because I couldn't like hype myself up in the same way I can when I'm working from home.
Yeah.
But if you asked me before, I would have said, oh yeah, I'm way more productive at the office, just having those people around me to keep me socially accountable and like do my work, be able to interact with them to get my work done. Because now I'm like before I would have been so comfortable, not so comfortable, but relatively comfortable, just like sliding over to someone's desk and be like, hi, I need help with this. Do you have like a minute? Now I'm like, oh, they look busy. I don't know if I can do that. Like, what if you're in a meeting? Because now people will take meetings at their desks. And that was definitely not the thing before. Like, we have specific meeting rooms for taking, if you need a virtual call or just like having meetings in general. But now sometimes people will just take it from their desk because they're the only person in the office and everyone else who's phoning into that meeting may be working from home that day. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know how to interact.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I will say, yeah, working with a team in person, you get answers to questions so fast and it's so nice because you're just, sitting right next to them and you're like, hey, do you have like 2 seconds? I have a question for you. And in those meetings, you have the ability to kind of like read each other's expressions when things are happening.
Whereas when it's from home, everyone's camera's off because they're probably doing something else at the same time. Like, they're listening, but maybe they're also doing laundry or something. They're multitasking, or just maybe they're even doing work at the same time, like why did that sound like the scandalous thing? I said like, oh yeah, laundry, whatever.
They're
working.
Imagine.
But yeah, like if you're working and even you have multiple monitors, you're looking at more. I feel like most of the time you'll have a monitor with the camera and the meeting going on, and then another monitor with your work going on in the background. And so the monitor with the camera is looking at the side of your face, so obviously they see that you're not engaged in the meeting, and that just feels that can feel very disrespectful depending on the presenter.
And I always have my camera off because I get distracted by myself. Like,
That's true.
I'm always concerned about how I look on camera.
Me too.
Yeah. So then
and they did studies about that in COVID, about the emotional and like psychological effects of staring at yourself through the camera all the time. So they actually encourage that you turn your camera off.
It's crazy. I'm just saying, the anxiety of going back into this work environment is so weird.
But like you were saying, so actually last summer, my office did kind of a voluntary return to office when I think it was like a little bit after the first roll of vaccines was coming out, where they said, okay, you can return to the office. Hopefully you're vaccinated. I can't remember if they were I don't think they were requiring it yet last summer. But basically, most people who were coming in, they were encouraging you only to do it if you were vaccinated or if you're going to regularly test. So that was kind of what my company was doing. And so I was going into the office almost every day, if not at least for a couple hours, and I was kind of getting into that routine. But at that time, masks were still required. So at that time, it was a nice in between. I got to have kind of dip my toes into, okay, going back to the office. Although I wasn't going into offices with my team. It was more just go into an office, and they had monitors set up. So you could just plug in your computer and you could use their desk setups. Whereas now when we're returning to the office, I'm going to literally my desk that has like my specific CPU, my personal belongings if I want it, you know, like my own setup.
Yeah.
And going to the office back then, yeah, we had masks on, so I didn't, like you said, need to control my facial expressions as much if needed to happen, right? Like, just sometimes you hear something and you're like, woof. Or like, you know, your face is a little loud about how you feel about that. But the mask at least hid it. Now, no mask, can't hide.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like you now have to be very mindful of something that you weren't before.
Yeah.
And even like in like all aspects, whether it's working at your desk, being in a meeting, going to those business social functions afterwards. And so I feel like my social skills have to go from 0 back up to 100.
100%.
There was no in between.
Yeah. I feel like the best approach, is kind of like what my team's doing is that hybrid approach. But even then, the days you're going in, like you said, you're at 100%. So it's not like you can be at a 50% of these social cues and interacting with people at the same time. That's like not possible at all. At least not in a way I can think of. And the new team I'm starting is very social, which is good. I'm really excited about that because that's something I really missed. Again, being in COVID is I'm a social person, so I needed a social team. And I think on my previous team, and I will blame, I thought that they weren't very social, but I think most of it genuinely was just because we were, in a pandemic. There's not a lot of interaction. I joined the team virtually, so I never got to meet them until this past week when I was leaving. So it was a little bit sad because it's like, oh my God, it's so great to finally meet you after working with you for almost a year and a half. Wow. And just seeing your face as a little cube on my screen. But I'm leaving this week. So
peace out.
It was. So when I was meeting these people, they're so nice and friendly. And not to say that they weren't before, but just the only time I was really interacting with them was in a structured meeting of some sort where we're covering something, or if I was, I ping them to ask them a question and then we jump on a call and it's with this directive of trying to accomplish something, asking these questions sort of a deal. So I never had those social interactions with them. So I wasn't able to quote, quote, gauge what they were kind of like. I only saw their professional faces essentially. And I feel like for me, it felt very, not jarring, but it felt disassociative a little bit. And I didn't like that. I didn't like feeling disassociated from these people that I worked with. And that was just through no one's fault other than just like the consequences of the situation we were in, being in a pandemic. And now I'm in the mindset of I'm leaving these people, I'm leaving this team, like just wrapping up what I gotta do. But I'm going into the office and I'm meeting them, and it made me so sad because I was like, I'm excited to start this new team who I know are very social. I had worked on this team previously. So pre-COVID too. So I know what this team structure is like. I know what these people are like, that sort of a thing. And I liked the product area first and foremost. Not to sound like I switched teams for people, but it's part of it is the socialization. Majority of it was the product area. But as I was going back to the office and meeting my old team, getting to meet them as actual people and not just, these quote, quote, strangers that I was working with all the time. I was like, wow, you're so cool. I I would love to get to know you more. I would love to work with you and socialize with you, have lunch with you, but I'm leaving. So it was like it was very sad. Yeah, bittersweet. But exactly, very bittersweet because I'm very excited to start my new job in the new area that I'm going to be in. But I think it sounds really cold-hearted, but if I didn't go into the office, it would have been such a clean break because I would have never gotten to meet them and socialize with them. So it wouldn't feel so bittersweet. But I'm glad I went in to meet these people because not that I owed them that, but I feel like I owed myself that considering I'd worked with these people for a year and a half. But it did turn it to a very bittersweet goodbye.
I guess overall, going back after the 2.5 years adjusting to working from home. Now we have to adjust to working around people again.
Yeah.
Which seems like a small feat, but at least from my point of view, it's proven to be a little bit overwhelming, having to ramp up those social skills again, having to get back into that kind of routine and everything like that. But I think, yeah.
The routine of just waking up, because I start work at 9, so I could sleep in till like 8:30, go take my dog on a walk, and start my morning meetings and making breakfast at 9. Now it's like, okay, I have to get up, I have to get dressed, I have to do my face and my makeup because I'm going to see people, and then commute to work. So I have to get up. Such a first world problem, but it is like a thing to consider. It's like now I have to put that extra time in mind and account for it, and then that also readjusts how my sleeping patterns are, because I need to make sure I still get enough sleep to be a coherent worker the next morning.
No, team no sleep.
I mean, you're probably right, but I'm gonna try to keep up the illusion. Nobody needs to know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And for me, dealing with a new found anxiety is frustrating, because I feel like I didn't have it before, but now I have to deal with it. And I'm like, ugh. Yeah. But what are you, I guess, looking forward to with starting anew?
Dang it, I was going to ask you that. What am I looking forward to? I think, yeah, what I'm looking forward to the most is my new team and the new product area. Like, I really liked this product area. I was really sad when I had to leave before. So coming back to it, it's very exciting. Also nervous, because I don't want the expectation of, oh, I'm returning, because it's been 2.5 years since I was on go to this product area, meet new people, and actually socialize with people again. But for those exact same reasons, I am very nervous. What about you? What's an excitement and what's a nervousness? Pros and cons.
The closing thoughts on my end. Excitement. Definitely, I love the travel aspect of my job.
So true.
It lets me go to different places that I've never been before. So I love that part, and being able to, at least for my job, a lot of our teams are made up of people who work out of different offices. So currently I'm the only person in Seattle on my team. The rest of my teammates are either in San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, like all over. So being able to meet those people in person and hang out with them when I really don't really have an opportunity to throughout the year is always fun. And I'm really lucky at right now because my team is amazing. Like, they are so fun. We just, again, last week went to Dave & Buster's, and we were on a mission, and we got 33,000 tickets between all of us. Yeah. And so we got to gift one of our managers with a almost life-size llama stuffed animal. And then we got our client a parting gift of an icy machine. Like, it was really fun. So long story short, meeting my teammates and getting to travel in person is the highlight and what I'm looking forward to more. Nervousness, yeah, I guess dealing with anxiety that I didn't have before and trying to find good coping mechanisms when I'm in situations where I'm feeling anxious in the workplace. Because I feel like when you're alone and you're anxious, you're like, okay, I can just go on a walk or, listen to your hype up music or do something, like meditate, journal. But when you're in the workplace, you don't really have the freedom to do those things because you kind of just have to keep it together until you leave the office.
Yeah.
So I guess, trying to explore.
I go hide in a corner. My office has a lot of nooks and crannies where I can go hide. I find hiding spots.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like making or reserving some of those meeting rooms, having some alone time there. Yeah, but I guess just finding those good coping mechanisms. That's
For
what
sure.
I'm a little nervous about, but we'll work through it. Any other closing thoughts?
Not a closing thought, but just well wishes to anyone returning to their office or returning to their job after being remote for a while. Hope socialization goes good for you. Wish you all the best.
Because we're also going through it, so we know it's an adjustment again. you know, even though we've been in that environment before, going back into it, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And I guess to like give yourself grace in the adjustment back into the real world. I know it can be really overwhelming, but like Kristen said earlier, everyone's going through it.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. Like, take comfort in knowing it's still going to be anxious. There's no work around that, as far as I know. If anyone knows the cheat code, please hook a sister up. But at least you can be rest assured that everyone else in that room probably feels just as anxious as you do. So you're all going through it together.
Yeah. It could be a bonding moment.
Oh my God, yeah, let's bond in our anxiety.
I have anxiety. Do you have anxiety? That's crazy. Yeah.
Look at this, anxiety bringing us all together while crippling us down. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Midnight Memo. If you have any suggestions as to what we could talk about, or you want to just talk about your anxiety with us, please feel free to reach out to us, themidnightmemo@gmail.com, or message us on TikTok and Instagram at The Midnight Memo. Don't forget to follow and like this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so that way you can be notified when our next episode drops next Tuesday. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us get the visibility we would like, and it just encourages us that you like what we're doing here.
And if you want to support us even further, we do have a link down in our podcast description, so feel free to click on that. We would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So well wishes to everyone getting back into the real world. We're right alongside there with you. Good luck to everyone. Bye.
Bye.